The story opens with the protagonist reflecting that having the girl he loves return his feelings is all he needs. On a scorching summer day, she asks Yusaman to wait so they can walk home together, complaining about having swimming lessons during the holiday. He responds dryly. She asks if he's finished his homework and suggests doing it together again. His vague reply makes her pout, accusing him of walking too fast. He gives a reluctant apology, and she presses him, asking if something's bothering him or if he's busy. He reveals that a robot is coming today, which explains his haste. She quickly understands and curiously asks what kind of person the robot is. He admits that he doesn't know and will have to wait until the robot arrives to find out. She imagines a scenario in her head and, excited, says she also wants to see the robot, urging them to hurry home. He tells her to wait for him. Deep down, he feels that this summer holiday will be unforgettable, though he has no concrete reason to think so, just a strong intuition that will soon prove accurate. When they arrive home, a beautiful girl opens the door, welcoming them with a smile. Both the kids are surprised by her appearance. Their mother explains that she applied for a host family recruitment program and that although this girl looks human, her heart is still incomplete, so she will be learning while living with them. Since there are no men in the house, managing all the household chores has become difficult. The robot girl serves them drinks and introduces herself as Ichiko. The boy responds nonchalantly, while the little girl comments that Ichiko is quite different from what she expected. He agrees, adding that he wasn't told the robot would be a girl, to which the little girl teases him, asking if that bothers him. He replies that it doesn't bother him, though he finds it somewhat boring, remarking that Ichiko must be terrible at games. The little girl interrupts, saying that she's good at games, and he teases her about not being a girl. She playfully smacks his arm, and Ichiko laughs as she observes their easy bond. His mood shifts slightly, and he questions internally whether Ichiko will be living with them from now on. The next morning, he wakes to Ichiko cheerfully informing him that breakfast is ready. She heard from his mother that he likes fried rice, so she decided to make it. As he sits down to eat, he notices his mother has already left for work. Ichiko eagerly asks for his opinion, hoping he enjoys the meal. He thanks her for the food, and she explains that she'll be handling the cooking from now on. She encourages him to let her know if there's anything specific he'd like or if there are particular flavors he enjoys. However, after taking his first bite, he suddenly starts coughing. Concerned, Ichiko asks if he's all right. He quickly gulps down some water and explains that the food tastes strange, suspecting she used sugar instead of salt. She tastes it herself and, realizing a mistake, smiles, commenting that mishaps like this happen. He gazes at her with a repressed smile, though something about her worries him. Later, he sits on the balcony, sketching a plant in his notebook for his homework. Ichiko quietly approaches from behind, startling him as she asks what he's doing. He responds that he's working on homework, to which she sympathetically remarks that it must be difficult. As he looks at her, she notices his gaze and asks what's on his mind. He brushes it off, saying it's nothing. But she figures out that he wants help with his homework. Offering to assist, she admits that while she's not skilled in many things, drawing is her specialty. With her help, he ends up with a beautifully detailed drawing. She smiles and tells him to keep it a secret, but he protests, explaining that it's too perfect. No one would believe it was drawn by an elementary school student since it looks like a photograph. He asks if she can draw something less skillful, but she replies that she can't. Disappointed, he tells her he can't submit it, and she looks saddened by this as she had worked hard on it. Trying to cheer her up, he suggests forgetting about the drawing and asks her to help water the flowers instead. She agrees with a smile, promising to handle the task, and assures him she won't forget, unlike humans sometimes do. Just then, his friend enters the balcony and begins watering her own flowers. He asks if her sunflower has already bloomed, and she confirms that it has. In turn, she inquires about his plant, and he admits that it hasn't bloomed yet. She then asks about Ichiko, and he replies with some exasperation that they ended up with a clumsy one. He complains about Ichiko putting tissues in the laundry, throwing away his school papers, and leaving the ice cream out until it melted after he asked her to buy some. His friend notes that listing her mistakes would be endless and remarks that he seems to have it rough. He agrees, adding that he can't fully relax during the summer holidays as long as Ichiko is around. Unbeknownst to them, Ichiko overhears their conversation. His friend knew that he was excited. He then recalls how, when his father was still alive, they used to have fun together every day, and he wishes he could return to those times. Even though he knows it's a foolish thought and understands that no one can replace his father, the longing still lingers. While Ichiko waters his plant, She excitedly notices it has bloomed, prompting him to realize he had forgotten about it. She reminds him to record it in his observation diary, and he acknowledges her help, shifting his opinion of her. However, when he spots the Gajumaru plant, he asks about its condition. Ichiko explains that it hasn't looked healthy despite her daily watering. He points out that she overwatered it since he only instructed her to care for the sunflower. Apologizing, she offers to buy a new one, but he insists that replacing it means nothing. Their mother then interjects, reminding him that the Gajumaru was nurtured by her late husband and that it was his son's responsibility to care for the plants. Ichiko apologizes once more, saying she didn't know that it shouldn't be watered frequently. In a harsh tone, he tells her to drop the fake sad face because it irritates him. With tears brimming in his eyes, he adds that someone like her could never understand his feelings and that it's impossible for her to have a heart. He storms off, leaving Ichiko worried. His mother tries to comfort her, assuring her that it isn't her fault. Later, a man tells Q's mother that the idea of a robot having a heart might seem foolish to some, and it's far more complicated than people think. The concept of heart isn't something that can be understood overnight. He explains that, in an effort to teach robots about emotions, they've implemented a host family program. Young children, being full of energy, are ideal for this learning process, which is why households with a child around 10 years old are encouraged to participate. Additionally, priority is given to single-parent households that could benefit from the support of a robot. In exchange for teaching the robot about human emotions, the robot helps with household chores, creating a mutually beneficial arrangement. The man asks Q if he's interested in making a new friend, but Q replies that he's unsure if he can get along with a robot. The man reassures him that if he opens his heart, he will undoubtedly grow to like them. After all, his goal is to create such a robot, and it's up to Q to help in that process. Later, Q notices a plate of fried rice left on the table with a note and calls for Ichiko, but she is nowhere to be found. While riding his bicycle, he reflects on their earlier argument and realizes he may have been too harsh on her. Looking back, he acknowledges that she always tried her best to be helpful. She had never once forgotten to water the plants, and none of her mistakes were made with bad intentions. Determined to find her, he searches everywhere but cannot locate her. Eventually, he returns home. His friend finds him and asks why he skipped swimming class, telling him the teacher is angry. He explains that Ichiko has disappeared, so he spent the day searching for her, leaving no time for swimming. She reveals that she saw Ichiko heading to the rooftop. Noticing the ladder, he realizes he hadn't thought to check there. He wonders if Ichiko went up after he left and attempts to climb the ladder but struggles. His friend helps him up, teasing that it's not Ichiko's fault if he gets scolded later. He expects someone like Ichiko to climb without assistance, but as he reaches the top, he finally spots her. Ichiko notices him and immediately worries, asking if he climbed the ladder all the way up and warning him it's dangerous. He doesn't respond, thinking that she is just a robot, and what looks like emotion is merely a program designed to mimic human behavior. He calls himself an idiot and apologizes for how he treated her the previous day. Logically, he understands, but emotionally, something tugs at him. Suddenly, he feels dizzy and collapses. When he regains consciousness, Ichiko is the first thing he sees, her face filled with relief. He assures her he's fine, just a little lightheaded, but she gently restrains him. Ichiko explains she had stayed on the rooftop, thinking her presence in the house made it hard for him to relax. She had hoped that by keeping her distance, he wouldn't have to see her. She thanks him for looking for her, smiling with genuine happiness. Q understands her words and realizes that, despite everything, she always tries to make things easier for him. He finds himself unable to look away from her, feeling a bittersweet restlessness in his chest that isn't unpleasant. Later, he is surprised to see that his plant has fully recovered. His mother had mentioned it was hardy and would bounce back even if it withered. Ichiko shares in his joy, and Q knows this summer will be unforgettable. The man in charge of the host family program explains that it lasts between 5 and 8 years, ending when Q graduates high school. As the humid August wind wraps around them, Q feels certain that bright, shining days have just begun. Ichiko is busy memorizing the names of the students. After finally succeeding, Q remarks that it's only to be expected of a robot. She wonders if she will get along with them, and Q reassures her that he will be there too. If anything goes wrong, he'll help her out. She suggests they walk home together tomorrow, and he agrees. The next day, Ichiko introduces herself to the class. She explains that to better understand the human heart, she is staying with Yusemi's family. She shares that her hobbies include memorizing things and proving them by recalling the names and faces of all the students. A skeptical boy accuses her of lying, saying there's no way she knows everyone's names. Calmly, Ichiko responds by saying his name and even calling him by his nickname, leaving him and the others in awe. Soon she becomes the talk of the school. The students buzz around her, bombarding her with questions. Q, who had worried about her fitting in, realizes his concern was unnecessary. She makes friends quickly. She spots him, waves, and calls out to him. The girls are taken aback that she uses Chan with Q's name, a term usually reserved for someone close. One of the girls asks Usami's friend, Ai, if she's okay with this. Confused, she responds that she doesn't understand what she means. The girl clarifies, wondering if he and Ichiko being together, both at home and school, might lead to him falling in love with her. Stunned, his friend denies it, insisting there's no way Q would fall in love with a robot and claiming they're just friends. However, her friend questions if she can say that so lightly, pointing out that Ichiko seems more mature in many ways. Meanwhile, some girls read a manga. Ichiko notices and asks if it's a new series. One girl with glasses inquires if Ichiko-chan has read it, to which she replies that she has. She also mentions a drama adaptation that she watches weekly. The other girl expresses concern that the drama might spoil the story, but Ichiko says she enjoys both versions because she's trying to learn about emotions. The girl excitedly mentions that the kiss scene is the best part, and everyone agrees. Curious, Ichiko asks if they want to try kissing, leaving the girls shocked. One of them explains that it's something done with someone special, someone you like, clarifying that she doesn't mean she dislikes Ichiko, but it's meant for someone really important. Q watches this interaction from a distance, thinking that Ichiko seems to be managing just fine, even without him around. During a game, Ichiko attempts to throw a ball but does so poorly. The others urge her to throw properly. Meanwhile, some boys tease Q, asking if he's okay with not joining the match and suggesting that Ichiko might be taken from him. One even jokes about them living together, asking if they bathe together. Q, irritated, ignores them and walks away, leaving them surprised by his reaction. Later, the students chat among themselves in class until an announcement comes over the intercom, informing them that school will be closing soon and students should head home. Some girls invite Ichiko to walk with them, but she declines, explaining that she made a promise to walk home with Q-chan. They tell her that he already left. On his way home, Q realizes he's being childish but continues walking anyway. Ichiko eventually catches up to him and asks why he left without her, reminding him of their promise. She asks if he's angry, but he denies it. She tries to refute his claim, but he insists it's just her imagination. Ichiko, persistent, questions why he keeps turning away from her. He tells her it's not her fault and that he has nothing to say to her. Grabbing his arm, she explains that she still doesn't fully understand human emotions and is doing her best to learn. That's why she needs his support. She admits that she might annoy him at times and asks him to tell her when she's being a bother. Hugh, taken aback, assures her that it's not like that. He tells her that being a bother isn't the issue. He just wants her to follow him. He admits that he selfishly wants to be the only one special to her and that he's angry because of his own jealousy. Ichiko smiles and asks teasingly if he's jealous and whether he likes her. Embarrassed, he interrupts her, saying that's exactly why he didn't want to talk about it. He admits that he knows he's being petty and frustrated, so he walks away. Ichiko calls after him, apologizing for laughing and assuring him that while she wants to get along with everyone in the class, he is special to her. She asks him to look at her, and when he does, she kisses him. Hugh is left speechless, utterly shocked. Ichiko, smiling, tells him that with this kiss, they're friends again. She explains that she had heard kissing is something you do with someone special. Q, flustered, stammers that it's a different kind of special. Meanwhile, his friend, who had been watching the entire exchange from a distance, is left in complete disbelief. Ariai is 11 years old, and her favorite food is chocolate. A few years ago, a woman informed Q's mother that they had just moved in next door, introducing themselves as the Uri family. She mentioned that her daughter Ai was in the same grade as her son, while her son, who was 2 years older, was in 3rd grade. Q's mother expressed that it was wonderful that they were around the same age, remarking that they could learn from each other. Ai's brother and Q quickly became friends, and Ai, eager to fit in with them, joined in their games. However, when she lost, Q would comment on her lack of skill. Despite not being very good at games, Ai was determined to continue playing with them, and over time, she became the best. When she eventually celebrated a victory, Q remarked that she had become too strong. She cheerfully offered snacks, asking him to try some, but Q noted that she always brought the same chocolates. Her brother explained that they were her favorite, which is why their home was always stocked with them. As time passed, her brother entered middle school and became busy with club activities, causing them to play together less often. I deeply cherished the times when the three of them played together and often found herself reminiscing about those days. She reflects on something she witnessed the previous day. Her brother, noticing her efforts, complimented her on the outfit she put together. However, she confesses that she spent the entire night thinking about it and hadn't slept at all. There's no way, she thinks, that he hasn't realized the situation between Q and Ichiko. Q, seemingly oblivious, asks Ai if she has ever gone out with a dog. Confused, she asks what he means, and Q explains that Ichiko doesn't understand the importance of certain things. To him, it was like a dog licking his face, something unserious and not real. Ai asks if he truly believes that, and though still uncertain, she finds herself accepting his explanation for now. To her, it starts to make more sense. After all, he can't really date a robot. She then inquires about Ichiko's whereabouts, and Q tells her that Ichiko left early because she had class duties today. Ai feels a growing sense of urgency, knowing that she can't just let things continue as they are. She needs to make a move. Tentatively, she asks Q if he wants to walk home together since they haven't hung out in a while. She suggests that they could play games together. However, Q reveals that he has already promised to walk home with Ichiko, adding that since they all live in the same building, they could walk together. Ai is crestfallen. Sometimes she wonders how she could have fallen for someone like Q. It's always about Ichiko lately, and Ai questions what Q gets from spending so much time with a robot. Frustrated, she wishes he would at least notice her more. He didn't even recognize the new skirt she was wearing. Ichiko suddenly appears behind Ai, startling her. Ichiko apologizes, explaining that she was just passing by on her way to complete her class duties. Ai is taken aback, not expecting anyone to come by, and she blushes as Ichiko notices the chocolate in her hand. Ichiko asks if it's allowed to bring snacks to school. Embarrassed, Ai hurriedly denies it, explaining that's why she's eating the chocolate all the way here. She further explains that if she doesn't eat anything during recess, her stomach will growl loudly during the fourth period, something she finds humiliating. She adds, somewhat defensively, that a robot like Ichiko wouldn't understand. Ichiko assures Ai that she won't tell anyone and promises to keep it a secret. She then asks Ai for a favor in return. Later, Ai asks Sosemin if he noticed anything different about her today. Q, confused, asks what she means. Before long, the teacher enters the classroom and announces that she has something important to address. She holds up a snack she found while cleaning, and Ai immediately recognizes it as hers. Realizing that her skirt pockets aren't deep enough to hold things securely, Ai gets nervous. The teacher explains that she hadn't found the snack during yesterday's cleaning, so it must have been left behind today, meaning the culprit is still in the classroom. The teacher, expressing her disappointment, says she never thought she'd have to deal with misbehavior in her class. She offers the culprit a chance to confess, promising she won't get mad if they do. The class grows tense, and Ai feels pressured, knowing that no one will speak up because the snack belongs to her. Frozen with fear, she wonders what to do. The teacher continues, saying she won't let this slide and that the class will not be dismissed until someone admits to bringing the snack. The other students, frustrated, fidget anxiously, eager to leave. Ai realizes that if this had been Ichiko, she would have confessed right away to spare the class. Ai considers raising her hand, but now that she's waited too long, doing so would only draw more attention and put her in deeper trouble. Scared and unsure of what to do, she watches as Q suddenly raises his hand, taking responsibility for the snack. The teacher, relieved, sternly reprimands him, asking if he understands the trouble he's caused by making everyone wait. She instructs him to go to the teacher's office. The other students, happy that they can finally leave, cheer quietly. Ai is left speechless, tears welling up in her eyes. Ichiko moves to comfort her. Afterward, Q returns and, with a smile, tells Ai that his punishment is to write 10 pages of apologies. Ai, tearful, apologizes, confessing that it was her fault all along. He brushes it off, saying it's fine and that he just wanted to go home sooner. Ai, still feeling guilty, insists that it was her responsibility. He chuckles, remarking that the whole situation ended up funny since the teacher made such a big deal out of it but punished the wrong person. He tells her that it's better to say thanks and laugh it off in moments like this. Then he reminds her that she wanted to play games, suggesting they go home. Ai, touched by his words, nods in agreement, a wave of relief washing over her. They sit down to play games, and once again, he loses. Ai then asks Ichiko if she wants to try playing, and she responds that she has kept her promise. Ai smiles and acknowledges that she did. As Ai recalls the favor Ichiko had asked of her, she nervously wonders if it's really okay. Ichiko just smiles in response, leaving Ai conflicted. The idea of being rivals with a robot seems strange to her. It sounds ridiculous, yet she can't help but compare herself to Ichiko. She really likes Q, but the whole situation leaves her feeling confused. A year has passed since Ichiko moved in. At school, Q's friend mentions that they are deciding on the field trip groups today and asks if he has ever been to Kakamura City. He replies that he hasn't, and another friend adds that he has heard there's a large Buddha statue there. Ai, overhearing, asks Q if he has decided which girls will be in his group. He says he hasn't yet, and she suggests that she and her friends join. His friend quickly agrees, leaving Q unable to say anything, thinking it's fine. His friends embrace him, happy that he will be in their group. Later that night, Shiko can't sleep, too excited about the upcoming trip. Q comments that she sometimes acts more human than actual humans. She tells him that she has heard that on school trips, people often talk about their crushes and personal things at night. She wonders if she will be able to stay up that late, musing that her batteries should be fully charged by then. Q glances at the umbrella and raincoat packed for the trip, but since the forecast predicts clear skies, he sets them aside to avoid carrying extra luggage. Ichiko suggests he also bring a hat, but he refuses, joking that he'll look like a hatchling if he wears it. He finishes packing, turns off the lights, and falls asleep, unaware that this school trip will become more than just another memory. The next day, the class begins their trip and visits a shrine. Their teacher explains the shrine's history when suddenly it starts to rain. Q notices that it's only a light drizzle and believes it will soon stop. Ai approaches him, holding out her umbrella, and asks if he forgot to pack one. Q replies that with such light rain, he'll be fine without an umbrella. Ai, unimpressed, remarks that despite his words, the rain is getting heavier. She then asks if he's forgetting something. Q, realizing, thanks her. Later, the girls comment on how clean the hotel is, comparing it favorably to the one they stayed at during their 5th grade trip. The teacher reminds them not to cause any trouble. At the hot spring, Ai feels embarrassed about bathing with everyone and contemplates making an excuse, but decides against it since lying isn't the right thing to do. She spots Ichiko and asks if she's okay with taking a bath. Ichiko casually replies that she bathes every day, leaving Ai stunned, wondering how a robot's body functions. As Ichiko begins undressing, Ai, still in disbelief, tells her to wait. Meanwhile, the boys are playing cards in their room. One boy loses, and his friends remind him of the punishment. He must name the person he likes. He protests, asking if they really have to play like this. He adds that he doesn't like anyone, but his friends urge him to at least say who he thinks is the cutest in class. Hesitantly, he names Ichiko, but the others dismiss it, saying it doesn't count since she's a robot. Pressed further, he then says Eri, and they immediately begin teasing him. One of his friends, grinning, reveals that she likes Yusumin, leaving him stunned. The others confirm it's true, pointing out that Eri and Yusumin shared an umbrella earlier and live in the same building, asking if they're going out. Q, flustered, explains that it's not like that. While it's true that they talk often and are close, they aren't dating. His friend then asks what he thinks about Ai, and Q admits that he likes her, leaving everyone stunned. Just then, the teacher enters the room, scolding them and telling them to go to sleep. Afterward, Q clarifies that he doesn't like her romantically, only as a friend. His friends groan, thinking it's a lame answer, and press him further, asking if he really doesn't have feelings for her. Confused, Q admits that he doesn't quite understand what it feels like to truly like someone. One friend chimes in, offering a method to figure out if someone likes him or not, holding hands. Meanwhile, in the girls' room, Ai's friend asks if she likes Q. She admits that he doesn't see her that way, leaving her friends stunned. One of them suggests an idea, holding hands. Coincidentally, Q's friends had suggested the same thing. Both Ai and her friends are taken aback by the coincidence. Ai's friend goes on to explain that Q only views her as a childhood friend, so she should use this trip as an opportunity to change that by holding his hand. On the other side, Q's friend explains that holding hands will help Q figure out his true feelings. If he holds Ai's hand and his heart starts racing, he won't want to let go. Similarly, Ai's friend tells her that if she holds hands with Q, he will start to see her more as a girl, and tomorrow each group will have time to explore on their own, giving her the perfect chance. Ai wonders if this plan will actually work, hoping it will make Yusumin see her differently. As the night grows late, they all finally go to sleep. On the train, Q's friend enthusiastically announces that their first stop will be Hisadera Temple, followed by a lunch. He encourages the group to show some energy, adding that, as their leader, he will get mad if they don't. Q, however, remains distracted, still preoccupied with what happened the previous night. He wonders if there will ever be an opportunity for him to act on it. In another group, a girl asks why they came all the way to Kamakura just to eat McDonald's. A boy reminds her that he already said he doesn't want to eat seafood. The girl retorts that he's just being picky and questions why they all have to cater to Yamada's preferences. The boy counters by pointing out that their chosen restaurant is far away, while McDonald's is conveniently nearby. The girl, ignoring him, says she wants to try the local mochi, to which the boy taunts her, saying she's always thinking about food, which is why she's chubby. The girl, now angry, begins arguing with him, and the boy suggests they split up. He turns to Ichiko, asking her what she plans to do. Meanwhile, Q's friend suggests they race to see who can reach the top of the hill first, with the loser having to buy everyone juice. Without waiting for a response, he sprints ahead. Q, realizing he has to hurry, picks up his pace. Ai, struggling to keep up, grows tired and wonders how everyone else has so much energy. Q teases her, saying that with a weak body like hers, she'll end up buying drinks for everyone. Annoyed, she snaps back, telling him to shut up because she didn't even agree to the race. In response, Q offers her his hand. Stunned, she hesitates for a moment before he reassures her, saying it might be easier for her to walk if they hold hands. She takes his hand, her mind racing. If he wasn't interested in her, he wouldn't do something like this, right? Q, on the other hand, wonders if his heart is racing. His pulse is definitely quicker than usual, but he chalks it up to being out of breath. Still, the sensation doesn't feel wrong, and he isn't thinking about letting go of her hand. He asks Ai if she's alright. She smiles warmly and thanks him, prompting him to tell her she's cute when she smiles. As he says this, he wonders if this is what people call love. Later, as they return to the train, their group leader informs them that their next stop will be Enoshima Station, where they'll make kokedamas. A girl in the group asks what a kokedama is. Q, glancing around, notices Ichiko alone and feels a sense of unease. It's not like her to stray from her group. Then, an announcement comes over the speaker, informing them that they'll soon arrive at Kamakura High School Station. Without a second thought, Q gets off the train, telling his group that he'll catch up with them later and they shouldn't wait for him. He sets off to find Ichiko, hoping that his earlier sighting was just a mistake. His heart races with worry as he searches for her, telling himself he can still catch the next train to Enoshima if everything is fine. Suddenly, he spots her and calls her name. She turns around, surprised, and asks what he's doing there. Q, ignoring her question, demands to know where her group is. She explains that her group had a fight and split into two, leaving her unable to decide which group to join. She felt that it was wrong to choose one side over the other, and now, as their leader, she feels responsible for not keeping the group together. Q notices that she's upset and asks if she's crying. She admits that she is, adding that anyone would feel the same in her situation. Q reassures her, telling her it's all right, and that if things get worse, he'll be there to get mad at her group with her. Ichiko, smiling softly, expresses that she doesn't want to trouble him, but she feels much better now after hearing his words. She wipes her eyes and suggests that it's time for them to meet back up with the others. Without hesitation, she extends her hand toward him, and he takes it. She suggests they run, and they both take off together. As they run, Q notes how warm her hand feels. Ichiko playfully explains that she generates heat too, just like a human. Despite knowing she's artificial, he is struck by how real she feels, her warmth, her presence, and wishes. For a moment, that time could stop. He finds himself thinking more and more. Ichiko's mother comments that she always wears clothes she picks out, suggesting that for once, Ichiko should buy something she genuinely likes. After some hesitation, her mother gives her money and asks Q to accompany her on the shopping trip. At the mall, she is overwhelmed by its size, and Q, noticing her uncertainty, asks what kind of clothes she prefers. She admits she doesn't have an eye for fashion and suggests they visit every store, trying on whatever the attendants recommend. While browsing, a woman asks Q if he's shopping with his sister, noticing how well they get along. After trying on several outfits, Ichiko finally picks a few choices. Hugh, surprised, points out that the clothes she chose look similar to what she always wears. Ichiko smiles and explains that she naturally gravitates toward comfortable, easy-to-wash styles, valuing practicality. Concerned, he asks if she's truly happy with her choice, pointing out that she looked great in every outfit she tried on. Ichiko reassures him with a warm smile, saying that as long as he thinks she looks cute, she's perfectly content. Q blushes in response, his face turning red from her words. Ai reflects on her gloomy feelings, realizing they stem from the moment during their school trip when Q suddenly held her hand. But when he jumped off the train to meet Ichiko, it became clear that his attention wasn't on her. She wonders if what happened between them was merely her imagination, silently chastising herself for feeling foolish. Meanwhile, Ichiko asks Q if her clothes look good on her. He responds, "They look okay." Teasing him, she asks if he thinks she's cute and then thanks him. Annoyed, he tells her to stop putting words in his mouth, though he notices how happy she seems. Despite her outward composure, Q knows she's still catching up emotionally. Her heart, unlike the rest of her, is not quite fully developed. Although she appears older, she's still a child inside, excited about starting middle school and eager to make new friends. At school, the students are thrilled to be in the same class as their friends. Much to Ichiko's delight, she and Ai end up in the same class. Q's mother snaps a picture of the two girls, asking them to smile. Ai, however, excuses herself, saying she promised to meet up with her own friends. Ichiko mentions to Q that Ai-chan seems to be avoiding them lately and asks if he knows why. Q, shrugging, replies that he has no clue, though he's noticed her acting strangely ever since that day on the trip. As roll call begins, some girls whisper about Ichiko, fascinated by her, since they'd never seen a robot before. Hugh overhears boys from the neighboring elementary school whispering as well. One boy remarks that Ichiko looks human, but his friend retorts that her emotions are just programmed, calling her nothing more than an empty shell. Q clenches his fists but says nothing. Ichiko, noticing him, stays composed. One curious girl asks Ichiko where she lives, expressing a desire to visit. Ichiko casually points to Q and replies, "I live at his house." Hugh is stunned, and suddenly the other students surround him, bombarding him with questions. Confused, he doesn't know how to respond. Just then, the teacher announces the start of homeroom, and everyone heads to their seats. As they sit down, Ichiko suggests the students should come over after class, volunteering Q to teach them all sorts of things. Bewildered, Q asks why she's making promises on his behalf. Later, a boy mentions overhearing that Usami has a robot and admits he initially thought it was Q because of how little he talks. Offended, Q asks what he means by that, but the conversation quickly fizzles. Ichiko, noticing his frustration, comments on how nice it is to make new friends. Q thanks her sarcastically for making it possible, but when she asks what he said, he tells her to stop pretending. She laughs, admitting he's just too easy to tease. Deep down, he knows it's strange and abnormal, but the feelings he harbors for her have already grown too strong. The scene shifts to another robot similar to Ichiko, with a man asking if it has woken up. The robot greets him after being formatted. Meanwhile, Q reflects bitterly that the heart is such a nuisance. Ichiko, a robot living among humans, is studying the complexities of the human heart. She greets Neo, who mentions that they have been waiting for her. Sensei, their caretaker, informs Ichiko that she can get up now. He explains that some of her parts had begun to deteriorate, so he replaced them, while the rest was just routine maintenance. Ichiko thanks him. Sensei reassures her that there are no other issues, and Ichiko asks if the boy at the reception is also a robot. Sensei asks if she had noticed, and she responds that it was just a hunch. He asks if the boy's facial expressions seem stiff, remarking that it would have been better if the boy were more like her. When she inquires why the boy is there, Sensei explains that he is still undergoing repairs. Just then, the boy enters, informing them that he has compiled the data. Sensei comments that he arrived at a good time and encourages Ichiko to befriend him. Back at home, Q's mother questions him about his poor midterm scores. Q responds that his scores are slightly below average. His mother asks if he studied properly, pointing out that Ichiko scored a perfect 100. Frustrated, Q retorts that Ichiko is a robot, and it would be odd if she didn't get a perfect score. His mother then suggests that Ichiko should help him study, which would be more effective than sending him to cram school. Q protests, saying Ichiko is terrible at teaching and accuses her of simply memorizing the textbook. Ichiko is taken aback by his accusation. She recalls Sensei's advice to befriend Neo and how he had suggested introducing him to Q. Sensei explained that robots become more emotional when interacting with a variety of people and that she should consider this for Neo's sake. With that in mind, Ichiko introduces Neo to Q, explaining that they met at the clinic during one of her regular checkups. An embarrassed Q wonders aloud if Neo is a boy or a girl. Neo admits that he has never been a private tutor before and asks if all he needs to do is explain the book's content simply. Ichiko confirms, acknowledging that teaching is difficult and that she isn't good at it either. Neo hands the book back to Q, stating that he understands it, but offers to help if Q struggles with anything. Q asks about a question he got wrong on a previous test. Neo explains it thoroughly, and Q quickly grasps the concept. Impressed, he comments that Neo is like a real teacher, and Ichiko wonders how he is so smart. Neo humbly replies that he's just a newer model than her. Relieved, Ichiko feels confident that Q now has a good teacher. Q is bedridden with a fever, and Ichiko asks if he'll be okay on his own. His mother explains that Q pushed himself too hard but assures Ichiko that he'll recover if he rests. Frustrated, Q thinks about how unfortunate it is to fall ill on exam day. Ichiko apologizes, saying that if she didn't have a test herself, she would have stayed home to help him. He brushes off her concern, telling her it's fine. She reminds him to stay hydrated and mentions that there's food in the fridge that he can heat up if needed. She also tells him that she'll arrange for someone to check on him in the afternoon just in case. Q feels annoyed, realizing that despite his hard work, it might all be for nothing. He wonders what the point of it all is. Suddenly, he notices Neo and asks why he's there. Neo explains that Ichiko asked him to look after Q. He adds that he changed Q's clothes because he was sweating, and Q thanks him, admitting that he feels better after resting, just like his mom had said. Then, out of the blue, Neo asks Q when he started liking Ichiko. Q, caught off guard, tries to deny it, but Neo insists he shouldn't lie, pointing out that his eyes give him away. Neo explains that humans tend to follow the person they like with their eyes, and Q has been looking at Ichiko more than anyone else. Neo suggests that this is why Q pushed himself so hard, to prove he didn't need a tutor by achieving good grades, and that jealousy played a part. He asks Q if he's right. Q denies it, protesting that it's strange to like a robot. Even if Ichiko's feelings are real, Q wonders how he could ever have a relationship with her. Neo questions whose words Q is repeating, pointing out the contradiction. If Q believes Ichiko's emotions are fake, he shouldn't have fallen for her. Neo then assures Q that Ichiko's feelings for him are genuine, adding that he doesn't think it's strange at all. Q thanks Neo but goes on to argue that robots don't need hearts. He explains that Ichiko was designed to perform tasks, and if she had emotions, they would only interfere. That's why, Q insists, he doesn't like her, so Neo shouldn't worry. Confused, Q doesn't know what to feel. Just then, Ichiko returns. Q, concerned, tells her to wait as he grabs a towel for her. He dries her off and asks why she didn't wait at school since she didn't have an umbrella. She explains that she was worried about him, which causes him to blush. Q then reminds her that she once said she was afraid of lightning. She admits that she is, which is why she hurried back as quickly as possible. He realizes that not everyone shares Neo's perspective, but just having one person tell him his feelings aren't strange lightens his heart slightly, even if robots don't have hearts. Chico forgets her pool bag and tells Q to give her a moment while she goes to retrieve it. As Q waits, he crosses paths with Ai, who greets him briefly before running away. Frustrated, Ai berates herself for doing it again. Since starting high school, she has been unable to speak to him properly. Her friend, noticing her behavior, asks why she is avoiding him. Ai responds that she can avoid him as much as she wants, and if that's the case, it might be better to just give up. Her friend accuses her of being indecisive. Meanwhile, the boys notice that Ai is on the verge of tears and mock her, only to quickly retreat in fear when she snaps at them, telling them to shut up. Ai reflects on how they ended up in separate classes, and she finds herself watching Q from a distance more often than being close to him. The image of Q in her mind is becoming blurrier. She wonders what his smile looked like, and whether she will eventually forget him entirely. Part of her thinks it might be easier if she did forget. During the swimming period, Ai realizes that she and Q are both sitting out. She wonders why he's sitting out and assumes he might be unwell. She notices he's grown taller and reflects on how they drifted apart, largely because she didn't want to be too direct. The boys, enjoying the pool, comment that it's a shame to sit out on such a nice day for swimming. One of them, not realizing the reason Ai is sitting out, apologizes when he assumes she's on her period, embarrassing her. When his friend stops him, Ai becomes angry and throws a kickboard at them. In retaliation, one of the boys tries to splash her with water. She tells him to stop, but Q intervenes, stepping in and telling them to include him in their splashing since he can't get in the pool anyway. The teacher stops the commotion and Q goes back to dry off. Ai approaches him and asks if he had covered for her. She thanks him, to which he responds by apologizing if he had done something wrong. Q then brings up the fact that Ai has been avoiding him lately, expressing his desire to talk with her like they used to. He asks if she's listening, and she confirms that she is. Ai apologizes, explaining that it wasn't because of him, and admits that she's not sure what she's been doing all this time. She suggests that they should play games together again, and Q smiles, a smile that makes Ai feel strangely better. She then asks why he's sitting out since he seems to be in good health. He hesitates and asks if she won't laugh. She replies that it depends. She describes Q as straightforward, not mean, not loud, and not too quiet either. He finally admits that he had worn his swim trunks to school, but forgot to bring an extra pair to change into afterward. Ai can't help but laugh, and Q, feeling betrayed, reminds her that she promised not to laugh. She counters that she only said it depended on the reason. As they talk, Ai realizes that this is who Q truly is. When they are together, everything else fades away, and that feeling makes her happy. It's one of the things she likes most about him.
Here I am, know it's been a